and welcome to our cyber talk today. Today, we're going to discuss the human element of cybersecurity. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Kiana Gainey. I am one of the newest members of the Virginia SPDC. I am your cybersecurity advisor. And we will be doing these talks where we will just kind of discuss some of the latest things that's going on in cybersecurity. Today's topic, we'll be discussing the human element, which is one of my very best, one of my fun topics that I like to talk about a lot. Because when we think about usually technology or anything dealing with cyber, most people think about IT systems, but really it's just like with anything that we do when we're dealing with any form of security. The human element is the most complicated, but there are things that we can do to make that experience even better. One of my greatest tools and assets in the fight against the human element would be cybersecurity risk training. Um, Even in my own organization, I'm a small business owner as well. I've actually been in the industry about 20 years. I've done a lot of IT consulting work as well. So I've seen a little bit of everything. And most of the incidents that occur is usually dealing with a level of training that needed to be either enhanced or, you always get the, well, I didn't know, right? So we want to eliminate the I didn't know and, replace that with actual training programs. So as a small business owner, I know it's like just one more extra thing that we have to put on our list, but it is a necessary it's a necessity for our business survival, right? With majority of our business, we use email, we use, and if you're a merchant of some sort, you use probably a credit card processing system. So you have to put in place some IT systems. When you put in any type of IT system, you need to pair it with a cybersecurity policy or procedure that you need to train your employees on. So you can use simple things like initial cybersecurity awareness training that the employees can receive upon their first couple of days of working, where you simply, like you would tell them how to secure a door, you would tell them these are our policies, these are our email policies, this is how you will handle an incident, this is how you would do backup and recovery. Now, there's a difference between just regular cybersecurity awareness training, and then you have more of your role-based cybersecurity training, which would be for like your system admins or your techie folks that will handle your technology within your organization. So they would have an initial cybersecurity training as well, but they will also have what we call a role-based training, which really will go over their roles, the roles that they'll be performing for your company. So you can do that initially, and then usually anytime there's an incident that occurs, you can do training with that individual. And then I also think it's always wise to also, inform your employees about what happened. So because there's always some lessons learned, right? So doing a cybersecurity incident usually will take like a incident report, and then from that incident report, it will kind of outline what happened, how it happened, and then you can kind of put in some preventive measures to make sure it doesn't happen again. And then ideally you do initial, and then maybe when an incident happens, but I know some organizations do it quarterly. I know some, depending on the nature of your business, you may even have to do it monthly, right? Because it's always something else that's coming up that will be more pertinent to you and your business. But at the very least, it should be done on an annual basis, right? And that will just be everything from password management to your rules about internet browsing, what they would do during the time that they're at work. There may be some sites that you want to whitelist that they can't go to. And then that would just be a policy that you can put in place to say, hey, we don't want you downloading files, or we don't want you doing any updates during business hours. That will be probably more for your system admins that do updates for your systems. That will be more considered on the role-based training, but it's just putting together a policy and then making sure that that training mirrors that policy, right? Because you don't want to put a policy out there and your folks haven't been trained on said policy, right? And then also, as your organization grows, it's also important that you update your cybersecurity awareness training. It could be as simple as ransomware. That wasn't around 10 or 15 years ago, right? So that is something that should probably be in your policy. So if you started your company a few years ago and it wasn't something that you were concerned about at the time, it may be something that you should consider. I would also even, and I know if you are a small business owner, this may sound even like I don't have enough time to do this, but you do. It's definitely an investment for you and for your company. If you have someone that you can assign as a cybersecurity resource officer for your agency, and they don't have to be a super techie, it could just be someone that can do research for you on your behalf, that can see what the latest trends are, that can put together a PowerPoint presentation. Like for myself, my small business, we do weekly staff meetings. And in those staff meetings, we have like the cyber talk where we talk about all things that's going on in cybersecurity. And I also like to hear from them because there's things sometimes that as a business owner, we kind of have our head down doing the day-to-day stuff that they may see on the news, or they may see in the newspaper, or something happened at their kids' school, the things that we need to be made aware of, that there may be things that we may need to kind of tweak in our own infrastructure, or look at some of the policies to make sure that the policies that are created a couple of years ago are still relevant for today, right? So those are little tips and tools that you can use. And for anyone that's looking for additional resources, a few of my favorites are the Federal Trade Commission. They always have great webinars and training. In addition to this is a shameless plug, the Virginia SBDC, we have a lot of webinars and trainings that are coming up in July and August. All through the year, we'll be doing some special activities in October. So just, stay tuned for all those great activities. And then if you just say, I don't even know where to get started, I am a resource to you. So use your resource, right? You can always reach me at the Virginia SBDC website. My contact information is there. We'll also include that as well. So you can reach out to me and we can set up a one-on-one meeting to go over your needs. Because every organization, every small business have unique cybersecurity needs. And we want to address and meet you where you're at, right? We want to make sure that you are prepared as a small business owner and that your employees have tips and tricks to be able to navigate this this cyberspace. It's only growing, and each and every day there's new risks, new threats that are pertinent to that that could be very detrimental to the success of our business, and we want everyone to be successful in small business. So for more information about cybersecurity for your small business, how to get started, you can reach out to me or go to the Virginia SBDC. So thank you. You've been a great audience.